Hello, everyone. Do not forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment girlfriends. The anime begins with Sato walking through the school hallways toward his classroom, when he crosses paths with a very beautiful girl who seems to be waiting for him. Her name is Akane, and when she sees him, she grabs him by his tie and warns him that she will hurt him if he tells anyone about their relationship. It is at this moment that it is revealed that the two have just gotten married, and that, to Sato, she is the most insufferable person in the entire school. 4 days earlier, Akane argued with him for not putting effort into properly recording the events of the day. He had only written that nothing of significance had happened. Sato apologizes, saying that it was simply a boring day. Furthermore, Akane also argued with him for not cleaning the blackboard at the end of class. After writing a Chinese proverb about demons, Sato becomes increasingly irritated. He tries to downplay the situation, saying that nobody reads those notes, but Akane insists that she reads them herself. Sato becomes very frustrated and says that all of this is a nuisance, accusing her of having nothing better to do than to bother him. Akane responds that her intention is to correct his attitude, and at that moment, a very friendly blonde girl named Himari interrupts the argument, asking Akane not to be so harsh on him. Attempting to justify her behavior, Akane explains that Sato respects neither the class nor his classmates. Himari observes that Akane seems to be constantly obsessed with him, an observation she had never considered. But it makes her realize that whenever she sees him, she feels such intense anger that she wants to hit him, until the argument is interrupted by another girl. Her name is Shisai, and she is Sato's cousin. She is very cute and has won the admiration of the other girls in the class. Shisai becomes concerned and asks if they are fighting again. Sato clarifies that it is not a fight, but that she simply attacks him for no reason. Shisai understands and comforts him, while Himari suggests that perhaps Akane likes him. Both of them stomp their feet on the ground and deny it, stating that even if the world ended today, they could never be together. At the end of the school day, Sato's grandfather, named Tenryu Hojo, calls him and invites him to visit. He insists that Sato will be the heir to the family's successful company, but Sato continues to reject the idea. When he is refused, the grandfather sends some men to force him to come. Sato gets into the car and asks where they are taking him, but the driver remains silent, simply following the grandfather's orders. It is revealed that the Hojo group was on the verge of bankruptcy in the past, until grandfather Tenryu Hojo took control. He completely revamped the company and transformed it into a benchmark in high technology. Currently, he continues to serve as the director of the company. Sato is taken to his grandfather's house, where he meets Akane, who immediately asks what he is doing there. Sato responds that his grandfather forced him to come, and by all appearances, Akane's grandmother did the exact same thing to her. The two begin to argue whenever they are near each other, and the grandparents arrive in a very flashy car. Inside the house, the grandfather offers a grand celebratory banquet. Akane only drinks water and says she completely loses her appetite with Sato around, and he responds that she possesses special pheromones that take away anyone's hunger. When that absurd fight breaks out, the grandparents merely laugh, as it reminds them of when they were young. Sato asks why they made them come there, and the grandparents reveal that they want the two of them to get married. They cannot believe what they have just heard. The grandparents met in high school and fell in love, but because of foolish arguments, their love was never realized. Each went their separate ways and continued with their own lives, but now they want to fulfill that love through their grandchildren. The two refuse immediately and claim that no one can force them to marry. Grandfather Tenryu Hojo had already expected this reaction, so he orders a stray dog to be brought in and threatens to leave the company and all his assets as an inheritance to the animal if Sato does not accept the marriage. Sato accuses his grandfather of being crazy, but the old man tells him directly to his face that he does not mind sinking an entire company just to get what he wants. So grandmother Chiyo Sakuramori asks her granddaughter to come closer and whispers something in her ear, and what she says leaves Akane in a panic. Next, the grandfather states that they must think about what is best in the long term, and gives them only 3 days to make a decision. Upon leaving the house, Akane asks Sato if he really intends to marry her. He has no idea what to answer and asks what her grandmother said to manipulate her like that, but Akane refuses to answer. Sato insists on knowing all the details, but she continues to refuse to tell him. That night, Akane rests on her bed, while remembering the jealousy and helplessness she felt upon discovering that Sato had taken first place from her in the school's grade ranking. She is very confused, so she calls Himari and asks what she would do if she were forced to marry someone she does not like, and Himari responds that she would obviously refuse. especially because she is in love with a boy. Akane is quite surprised upon discovering this and wants to know more, but Himari finds the interest strange, since her friend does not normally show curiosity about other people's lives. Akane responds that the only thing she wants is for someone to die. Even more so now because that would solve the entire problem, which is why she wishes that person would get hit in the head with a rock. When she hears this, Himari advises her to accept the marriage, saying that it would be fun to share life with someone. Akane does not believe that is a sufficient reason. Besides being worried about what would have to happen in bed, Himari agrees with her and even advises her to have 100 children, saying that it would be 20 little groups of 5. Akane responds that she could not bear something like that. Meanwhile, Sato reflects on everything that happened and concludes that marrying Akane would be a fatal mistake. Shisai notices that he is very worried and asks what happened. Sato explains that if he wants to take over the Hojo company, he will have to allow his grandfather to control his life. Shisai is not impressed by this kind of attitude from their grandfather and asks what he truly desires. Sato responds that he wants to leave the company and live a free life. Shisai sits on his lap and says that it is not possible to have everything in life and that nobody can live completely free, as everyone is bound to a world full of rules. She further states that if he preferred freedom over the company, she would be pleased to become a homeless person and look for food in the trash together with him. Sato knows that this would not be right, and Shisai says she understands that he needs the company to achieve his dreams, which is why she promises that she will try not to get in his way, but guarantees that he can always count on her. The following day, Sato meets with Akane. They are trying to reach an agreement. 3 days later, they go to the meeting with their grandparents to give their answer. The two agree to get married. They are surprised by each other's decision, since they never reached an agreement, but each of them individually concluded that this would be the best choice. After the decision is made, Sato imagines that the ceremony will take place after graduation, but his grandfather says that he is mistaken, as everything will begin right now, and they have already arranged a house for the couple. The two are taken to the new house that was just built. The grandparents have already moved all of their belongings there, preventing any possibility of escape. Furthermore, they also took care of all the marriage documentation without letting them know. The grandparents leave without saying anything else, leaving the two alone. Akane begs her grandmother to come back to get her, but it is useless. The two enter the house and Sato locks the door, which scares Akane, who accuses him of wanting to take advantage of her. Sato gets annoyed with this absurd accusation and clarifies that the door can be opened from the inside. Akane goes outside just to test it, and it works. They find the boxes with all of their belongings in the living room, and also discover that the house is completely furnished. Akane cannot hide her enthusiasm, but soon accuses Sato of being the only thing capable of turning that wonderful house into a horrible place. Sato retorts by saying that she was the one who destroyed his dream of having a bachelor house. They find a heart-shaped jacuzzi in the bathroom, which leaves both of them very embarrassed. Sato discovers that the house has an office, which he intends to use to have a little privacy. But he hears Akane screaming and finds her in the master bedroom, where she discovered that there is only one bed. Sato feels uncomfortable and calls his grandfather to complain. But the old man responds that marriages are like this and that they need to accept the rules. They cannot sleep on the floor or on the sofas, so they will have to share the same bed. The grandmother wishes her granddaughter good luck with whatever she wants to do with him during the night, but Akane refuses to do anything with Sato. Upon hearing that there are rules, Sato begins to wonder if there are cameras or sensors spread throughout the house. Akane becomes very nervous and scared and asks if he intends to take advantage of her during the entire night. Sato does not understand anything she is talking about. She says she noticed the way he looks at her from head to toe and accuses him of spending the whole day having perverted thoughts, but guarantees that she will not let that happen. After that, he finds her carrying boxes to the rooms and offers help, but she believes that it is just an excuse to take her to the bedroom and try to take advantage of her. So Sato leaves her doing everything by herself and merely asks her to be careful. But Akane trips on the stairs, and Sato manages to prevent her from falling. The atmosphere becomes a bit tense, but Akane thanks him, and at that moment, she remembers who he is and takes it back. Sato comments that if she had died on their first day of marriage, everyone would have suspected him. The grandfather had left the first dinner prepared, as he knew they would be too busy to cook. Sato heats up his meal and sits down to eat. Akane looks at his pizza and really wants to eat it, so Sato invites her to eat together. Out of nowhere, she freaks out and tells them not to act as if they were actually married. Sato responds that one does not need to be married to someone to eat pizza together, but she says that once it starts, first he will want to eat pizza with her, and then kiss her. Sato calms her down and offers a slice of pizza. Akane takes the slice and flees the kitchen. At night, Sato lies down in bed, very tired from everything that happened. Akane enters the bedroom. Very embarrassed, she lies down on her side of the bed and realizes that it is very small. Sato suspects that the size of the bed is part of the grandparents' plan. He also notices the heat of Akane's body and can smell her perfume. Akane threatens him in case he tries to do anything and confesses that she has never done anything, since she has never even had a boyfriend. Sato also admits that he has no experience, so he believes that both of them are safe. He asks once again why she accepted marrying him, but Akane still refuses to answer. She says that all of this is just a formality, and that she is willing to follow the rules even without liking them. She will do anything to achieve her dream. Sato becomes worried upon imagining that one of the rules might be that they have children. Akane panics when she hears this, even jumping, which causes her hip to bump into Sato's hand. She gets very angry and threatens to break his finger because of what happened. Sato explains that it was an accident caused by herself, and there goes their first day of marriage. Akane threatens to hurt Sato at school if he tells anyone about their relationship. Sato agrees that they must keep everything a secret, but Akane still worries about the possibility of him telling everyone that they sleep together. Sato guarantees that he would never do such a thing. Akane believes him, but as a precaution, she wants to record his oath and says that breaking it will destroy the entire world. She orders Sato not to even speak the word marriage, as she does not want to risk their classmates finding out that they are married. Sato understands and accepts. When Akane enters the room, Himari asks what she was discussing with Sato, since it seemed like the two were fighting for the 1000th time. Akane lies and responds that she merely asked him never to speak to her again. Sato sits in his chair, and Shisai approaches him. She notices right away that he is using a new shampoo, and also asks where he got it from. Sato is also a liar, saying that he merely bought a different shampoo, but Shisai does not believe it, because she also smells the perfume of a sweet girl. While she is practically biting his neck, she reveals that she knows he got married. After conducting a long investigation, she discovered everything that happened. Sato takes her to the hallway to speak in private. Shisai says she felt upset because he did not tell her about the marriage, and she feels like revealing everything to the entire school. Because of this, Sato realizes he has no other choice than to pay her to stay quiet. He tries to find out how much she wants, but she does not yet know what price to ask. She decides to tell him later, threatening that from now on, she is the owner of his life. Akane scolds him for not storing his materials. Tired of the girl's complaints, he responds that he spoke with the teacher and left everything in place to be used in the next class. Akane retorts by saying that even if a meteor were falling, the class would continue perfectly, so during class someone could trip on the things he left scattered. At this point, everyone in the room is already tired of seeing the two fighting. It is the same thing all the time, and they just let out a sigh. Himari explains that their fights are already famous and that everyone in school sees them as a very funny newlywed couple. When she hears this, Akane becomes very nervous. She freaks out and guarantees that the two of them are not married. When the two lovebirds arrive home, Akane screams upon discovering that the refrigerator is full of juices. Sato explains that they are concentrated vegetable juices made to boost immunity and prevent them from getting sick. The girl comments that she was worried about maintaining a balanced diet, and Sato then shows a pantry full of instant noodles, saying that it is cheap, good, and accessible. Akane asks where he intends to get protein from, and Sato responds that he makes protein shakes mixed with vegetable juice, guaranteeing that this is the easiest way to cook. Akane refuses to eat like that, saying that everything is artificial and tastes horrible. Sato responds that he worked hard to trick his taste buds and make them believe that those foods tasted good. Akane realizes that if they continue eating like that, the marriage will not last at all, and that is something she cannot allow, so she prepares a home-cooked meal, convinced that after tasting it, Sato will praise her and thank her, but he suspects that she might have poisoned the food, so he tries it very carefully. When he takes the first bite, he remembers when his parents abandoned him, and when he was adopted by his grandfather. His wife asks what he thought, and he merely responds that it is acceptable. Akane becomes very angry and takes his plate to give the food to the stray dogs, but Sato fights for the plate and devours the entire meal before she can take it from him. Now Akane, for a change, is furious and curses him for all eternity. The following morning, she wakes her husband up, but Sato, still sleepy, confuses her with his child during his dream and asks to sleep just a little longer. He grabs her by the arm and pulls her to lie down beside him. Akane feels very embarrassed and wakes him up shouting, and she only woke him up to fight with him for not washing the dishes after she prepared the meal. Sato asks her to just use the other dishes and promises to wash everything when the sink is full, but Akane forces him to wash everything right then. She also fights with him for leaving the trash in the bathroom. Sato promises to throw the trash away once a month, and Akane cannot believe that she is living with a pig. He accuses her of being a neat freak and confesses that he does not like being forced to take a shower every day, saying that he is merely saving water. When she discovers whom she is living with, Akane begins to cry. In a very serious manner, Sato asks her to leave him alone unless she has a good reason to bother him. On the way to school, the two realize that they see everything in completely different ways. When they return home, Sato decides to play a zombie video game in the living room, but Akane appears again to bother him, saying that he is making too much noise and that she wants to study now. She gets quite scared when she sees the game he is playing. Sato tries to explain what the game is about, but she does not care at all and asks him to turn it off, believing that whoever plays this type of game ends up becoming a violent criminal. Sato responds that she is being prejudiced. Akane tries to snatch the controller from Sato's hands because she will not allow that kind of thing inside their house. The two argue again until the doorbell rings. Akane lets go of the controller to go answer the door. Sato ends up tripping over the video game and disconnects the console. He decides to take a shower to relax a bit. Upon opening the bathroom door, he realizes that Akane is already in the bathtub. He feels embarrassed and closes the door right away and leaves, but soon realizes that Akane did not even notice his presence. He thinks that she might have fainted and decides to help her, knocking on the door and asking if she is okay, but receives no response. He enters the bathroom and discovers that she is merely sleeping. He knows that this is very dangerous and tries to wake her up. While sleeping, Akane murmurs that she is ordering Sato to sleep in the doghouse. Suddenly, she begins to slip. Sato becomes worried about the possibility of her drowning and tries to get her out of the bathtub, but he trips, and Akane ends up falling on top of him. She wakes up right at that moment, and when she sees the situation, she accuses him of trying to take advantage of her. Akane kicks him out of the bathroom, and Sato tries to explain everything that happened, but she gets worried because he saw more than he should have. When Sato cannot deny this, Akane becomes even angrier. At bedtime, Akane keeps thinking about what happened. She feels embarrassed about the entire situation, but begins to consider that Sato was merely trying to help her. She goes to the bed, where Sato is completely calm, lying down doing nothing. Akane lies down beside him and tries to talk about the matter again, but he shows no interest in talking, so she gives up and goes to sleep. The following day, Himari notices that Akane is very sad and asks what is happening. Akane begins to cry and reveals that there is a person with whom she can never reach an agreement, even though she really wants to. Himari notices right away that she is talking about Sato. Akane tries to deny it, but Himari comments that the boy has caught her attention since the first year. Akane insists that she would never have any relationship with him, so Himari suggests that she give him a hug to create a bond between them. But Akane responds that that person is not someone she can hug, and Himari then advises her to simply talk to him to try to understand each other better. Akane recognizes that this is something Himari can do because she is very good at dealing with people and everyone likes her. And Himari responds that this is not true, and that there are also people with whom she cannot get along. She explains that the important thing is not to win the respect of others, but rather to respect other people. Meanwhile, Sato has lunch with Shisai, who notices that her cousin has a depressed appearance. Sato responds that he is already tired of living. He comments that at any moment he might end up fighting with his wife. Shisai simply advises him to get a divorce, but Sato knows that if he does that, all the effort to inherit the company would have been in vain, so Shisai recommends that he try to get along with Akane to avoid so many arguments. Sato responds that this is impossible because the two are complete opposites, as if he were the hero and she were the villain. Shisai merely comments that human beings are animal, so compatibility really can be a problem, but believes that in their case, what exists is pure laziness. She advises Sato to look for a middle ground with Akane, trying to understand how she feels by learning to better control the situation. That is how one masters a woman. Sato agrees with the advice. Right after, Shisai asks him to pick her up in his arms. Sato does not really understand the reason, and she responds that this melts any girl's heart. Sato returns home determined to talk to Akane, but she receives him with an angry expression, even more than usual. Faced with this, he decides to leave the conversation for another day. Akane blocks his path and says she wants to talk. Sato immediately thinks that she is going to ask for a divorce, but Akane explains that she wants to find a way for the two of them to understand each other better so they can remain married. So they sit at a table with 2 cups of tea. Akane says that despite hating him, they need to find a way to make living together more bearable. Sato agrees and proposes that they establish some rules so that neither of them overburdens the other. Finding a point of balance, Akane likes the idea and starts by talking about the household chores. Ever since they got married, she feels that she has to take care of everything by herself. Sato insists that he prefers to wash the clothes and the dishes only when they pile up. Akane responds that this ends up attracting pests, while Sato insists that this is part of nature, but he ends up remembering Shisai's words. Because of this, he ends up giving in and agrees to wash the dishes right after using them. Akane asks if he also has any request and guarantees that she is willing to listen to him. Sato asks only that she have more patience when the two end up touching each other in bed during the night. Akane understands that as if it were a request to ignore his harassment, but Sato explains that the bed is tiny and that they can barely move. Even so, Akane agrees, provided that he does not put his hand under her clothes. After that, she asks that he play video games using headphones and in a place where she cannot see the screen. A little while later, the two finish defining all the rules. Sato adds that relationships can work out when people make an effort to please each other. So Akane asks him to praise the food she prepares, and Sato asks if he should do that even when the meal is horrible. She responds yes, because she always makes a lot of effort to cook. Sato explains that he called her food average as a compliment, but Akane cannot understand. Before going to sleep, Akane tells Himari over the phone everything that happened. Himari congratulates her for taking the first steps to improve living together. When she hears Sato approaching, Akane ends the call very quickly. Sato enters the bedroom and finds Akane lying on the bed. She feels very embarrassed and says that he can touch her if he wants to, but Sato explains that he was referring only to accidental touches. What happens when the two are sleeping? The following day, Sato returns home together with Shisai. He comments that even though things at home have improved, the war between him and Akane is not over yet. Shisai advises him to tease her more, but Sato accuses her of being very brazen. Even so, he wants to do something nice. When he arrives home, Sato gives Akane a strawberry cake, because he knows that it is her favorite sweet. Akane is very surprised and asks how he found that out. Sato explains that he remembered the essay she wrote in the first year. Not even Akane herself remembered having written that. Sato apologizes and confesses that he has a special talent for keeping useless information in his memory. Akane thanks him for the gesture. Then the two sit down to eat, and Sato realizes that she put a lot of effort into preparing the meal. He tries the food and admits that it is very tasty. When he finishes eating, he begins to wash the dishes, but starts wondering if Akane was planning something against him. She approaches and offers to help wash the dishes. Sato becomes even more suspicious and goes as far as accusing her of being too kind to him, which leaves Akane quite irritated since she merely wanted to help. But in the end, he accepts the help, and for the first time, he realizes how beautiful Akane is when she smiles. One night while Sato is reading in the living room, Akane appears to ask if he is going to finish the book he is reading. Sato responds no and asks what she really wants. Akane reveals that she rented a movie and would like to watch it. Sato says that it is fine and that he will leave the room to let her watch in peace, but Akane asks him to watch the movie together with her and shows that it is a 24-hour documentary about cats. Sato is completely surprised and comments that not even classes at school last that long. Akane explains that there is an edited version that lasts only 3 hours, so Sato accepts watching that version. While Akane is enchanted watching the little cats on the screen, Sato goes through the biggest boredom of his life. When the movie ends, Akane thanks him for the sacrifice he made and suggests that he choose the next program. Sato responds that he prefers playing video games, but Akane admits that she does not understand anything about those things, so he proposes teaching her how to play, and she accepts even without much desire. 30 minutes later, Akane is already defeating Sato in the video game very easily. He cannot believe that he is already losing, and is actually having fun with the girl who picked on him so much. Later, the two go to sleep, and Sato realizes that Akane is completely uncovered in bed. He, like a true gentleman, covers Akane with a blanket. She thanks him, revealing that she was awake the whole time. Sato says that she can choose the next game they will play, and that he will be responsible for choosing the next movie. Akane accepts, but makes a request. She wants him to start calling her by her first name, since that is something very important to her. The following day at school, Sato ends up napping at his desk. Akane picks up an eraser that fell on the floor and returns it to him. Sato merely thanks her, At that moment, Himari arrives and asks her friend if they have gone back to fighting. Akane responds that miraculously they have not. This leaves Himari quite intrigued, since the two are always arguing, but now seem to be getting along very well. Akane insists that she could never get along with Sato, but Himari notices that she now calls him by his first name. Akane panics and denies everything, saying that she already needs to go home. Himari looks at her and responds that she is crazy. After all, classes have not even started yet. Later, Sato goes to the library to look for a book. Shisai appears behind him and covers his eyes, asking him to guess who it is. Sato recognizes her right away and comments that only she would make such a childish joke. She responds that she merely wanted to help him rest his eyes, and notices that he is carrying a book about how to improve communication. Sato explains that he wants to improve his relationship with Akane and discovered that teamwork helps strengthen the bonds between people. After that, Sato looks for Akane and asks if she already has plans for after school. She responds yes, so he invites her to go shopping. Akane interprets everything the wrong way and believes that he is asking her out on a date. Realizing this, Sato takes her to an empty room where no one can hear them. Akane asks if he took her to an isolated place because he intends to do something indecent, but Sato explains that he merely wanted to talk in private. Even so, Akane remains convinced that he is trying to ask her out. No longer knowing what to do, Sato clarifies that they are merely going to do the household shopping. Akane likes the idea, mainly because it does not count as a date, and the two start laughing like crazy. After classes end, Akane goes to meet Sato, but Himari appears and suggests that the two of them go home together. Akane asks if she did not have to work. Himari responds that the work was cancelled, or that perhaps she was fired, which ended up being good because she wanted to take her friend to try the best ice creams in town. Akane explains that she already has other plans. Himari asks if she is going out with another friend. Akane responds no and merely says that she is going out with someone Himari knows. Himari asks if she is going out with Sato. Akane desperately denies it and flees from there as if she had seen a ghost. While running, she ends up stepping on Shisai, who was lying on the floor. Akane apologizes and asks what she was doing lying there. Shisai responds that it was a trap prepared especially for Akane, and that few people manage to step on it and leave unharmed. As a reward for this great feat, she grants her a legendary sword. In order to continue her journey, Akane merely tells Shisai to take a bath. Then Shisai asks if she likes teamwork, and if the answer is yes, she wants to know what kind of teamwork she intends to do with Sato. Akane reacts by asking what kind of question that is, and Shisai responds that she merely became curious. Akane says that she has things to do and asks her to stop bothering her. After that, Akane waits for Sato at the agreed meeting point and starts to become nervous, thinking that it might end up looking like a date. Sato arrives, and the two head off to do the household shopping. He tries to put a carton of eggs in the cart, but Akane asks if he thinks he is rich. She shows that the eggs on the adjacent shelf are cheaper and that they do not cease to be eggs because of that. Sato does the right thing and agrees, letting her choose. Later, they see a promotion on chicken breast. Akane hands her bag to Sato and runs to compete for the last trays, but ends up being defeated in a humiliating way. When he sees that, Sato decides to enter the contest to defend his wife's honor, but ends up in the exact same way. Gets all bruised and still does not manage to get the chicken. After the beating they took, the two start laughing at the situation. Akane admits defeat on that day, but promises to return for a rematch. Sato responds that she should not count on him, but Akane makes a cute face and decides to convince him to accompany her next time. That night, Akane wakes up in the middle of the night and notices that Sato's hand is close to her. She gets scared and asks if he was trying to take advantage of her, but Sato explains that in reality, she was the one who hugged him while sleeping. Akane responds that she would never do such a thing and asks what he was doing before she woke up. Sato confesses that he was merely looking at her because she is very beautiful when she is sleeping, and that he cannot resist the urge to touch her cheek. Akane asks how beautiful she looked, and Sato responds that she really was very beautiful, and that it even made his heart race. After hearing this, Akane simply lies back down and says that he can look at her while she sleeps, but not for too long, because then it would get very weird. The following morning, both are embarrassed because of what happened during the night. While Sato is in the bathroom getting ready, Akane screams. He runs to see what happened and discovers that she burned breakfast. Sato comments that she is acting in a very strange way. and Akane retorts by saying that he is the strange one and even forgot to put on a shirt. On the way to school, Akane feels like eating sweet bread. Sato buys one for her, and upon realizing that the bread is very large, they decide to share it. At that moment, Himari appears. It is the first time she sees the two together outside of school, and because of that, she asks if they are going together. Akane denies it and says that that weirdo has been following her for a while. Akane asks Himari to call the police. Himari then asks why the two were sharing the same food. Akane makes up an excuse, saying that a piece fell on the floor, and that pig went there to pick it up and eat it. Sato responds that he is no dog. Himari merely observes the two arguing, as they always do. At night, Akane is studying for the exam. Sato comments that she is exaggerating by studying so much and that the exam will be a breeze, as he always gets maximum grades because somehow he manages to remember everything that is said during classes. Akane responds that not everyone has that luck and sends him away to continue studying. A little while later, Sato brings her a strawberry sandwich so that she does not go without eating. Akane tries it and discovers that it turned out very delicious. The following morning, he also prepares rice balls for breakfast, and then the two head together to school. While walking through the hallways, Akane ends up falling. Himari goes to check what happened and realizes that she simply fell asleep while walking. Himari says that she does not think it is a good idea to sleep while walking. Akane explains that because she was studying a lot, she could not sleep properly. Himari asks her not to push herself so hard, but Akane responds that she needs to get the best grade no matter what. She comments that she has never been able to surpass Sato, but is determined to make him acknowledge that she is superior. That night, Sato brings dinner to Akane and finds her sleeping over the study desk. He asks her to go rest and realizes that she has a fever, so he takes her to bed and begins placing cold compresses on her forehead. Akane insists that she needs to go back to studying, but Sato explains that she became sick because she was pushing herself too hard. Even so, she refuses to give up, as she wants to fulfill her dream of becoming a doctor to help people in need. Akane shares that her parents do not have money to pay for a good university, but that her grandmother promised to cover all the costs if she married Sato. She also confesses that she feels very envious of him, because Sato manages to get excellent grades without making any effort, and that leaves her extremely frustrated. Sato responds that some people are born with talent, while she was just born. Akane says she hates those arrogant comments, and ends up admitting that deep down she admires him. But as soon as she realizes what she just said, she tries to take it back. After a while, Sato measures her temperature again and realizes that her fever has increased. He gets very worried, saying that this is no longer normal and wants to call an ambulance. Akane responds that it is not something so serious as to require an ambulance and that they should remain available for people who have been run over or are in truly urgent situations. So Sato decides to call a taxi, but for some reason, he is unable to. Akane asks him to simply go to sleep, saying that the next day she will already be better. But Sato cannot stand looking at his sick wife without doing anything, so he picks her up in his arms to take her to the hospital on foot. Akane gets quite surprised, as she had never realized how strong Sato was. Along the way, Sato comments that he did not know she dreamed of becoming a doctor. Akane asks him not to mock her. Sato responds that he would never mock her and says that he truly believes she will manage to achieve that dream, because in the end, she is very stubborn. Akane looks at him, very enchanted, thinking to herself what an incredible man he is. Meanwhile, Sato begins to think that perhaps their marriage is not so bad after all. A week later, Akane tries to wake Sato up to go to school. He does not want to get up, so she threatens him, saying she will place a hot frying pan on his face if he stays in bed. Because of this, Sato wakes up right away, and Akane even insists that he thank her for waking him up. Apparently, she had only a mild cold, and throughout that week she completely recovered, making everything return to normal. While getting ready to leave, Akane asks Sato to wash his face, but he responds that he will take advantage of the rain for that. She cannot understand how someone so intelligent can be so primitive. Sato retorts, saying that is not an appropriate way to speak to someone she admires. Akane says she only said that because she was delirious due to the fever, but Sato reveals that he recorded that confession on his cell phone as proof. At school, Himari congratulates Sato on getting another perfect grade and begins to hit on him. As he is a faithful man, Sato simply ignores the situation completely. After Himari leaves, Akane gets quite bothered and approaches, asking him to stop flirting with other girls. reminding him that he already has a wife. When he hears this, Sato reflects that he actually has a very lovely wife. Later, Sato walks through the school hallways, while Akane asks him to wait a moment. He ignores her, thinking she wants to start a fight with him, but Akane merely wanted to deliver the lunch he had forgotten at home. She accuses him of leaving the lunchbox on purpose, so as not to eat the food she prepared. Sato responds that he likes her food, and Akane demands that in that case, he leave absolutely nothing behind. During lunch, Shisai approaches Sato and demands that he give her all the food, saying she is hungry. Sato responds that he does not believe her, as he is sure she had a good breakfast. Shisai explains that she only ate 3 bowls of rice, and Sato responds that this is already much more than he can eat. The two begin to fight for the lunchbox, and Shisai claims that the issue is not the quantity, but rather that she wants to eat home-cooked food. Sato tells her to stop with that kind of topic, reminding her that this theme is the forbidden topic. The classmates see Sato picking on the poor girl and begin to demand that he share all his food with her. In the end, Sato agrees to share only a little, and Himari also gets involved in the conversation and notices that Sato and Akane brought the exact same lunch. The entire class begins to suspect that the two are dating in secret, but both quickly deny that they are dating, yet their nervousness is more than evident. Everyone in the room realizes that the constant fights between the two are exactly the type of behavior of a newlywed couple. Sato tries to invent excuses to explain why the two brought the exact same food, but Shisai has already finished eating the entire meal. He complains that he had said she could eat only a little, and Shisai responds that she only needed to take a single bite. The rest of the class ends up losing interest and leaves, so Shisai confesses that she eliminated the test to help him, but everyone knows she just wanted to eat. After class, Sato runs into Himari on the stairs. Mary takes a small jump to block his path. Sato comments that it is very dangerous for someone to jump from those 2 steps, and Himari responds that she trusts him, and if she tripped, he would definitely catch her. Sato says he would let her fall and even record everything to put it on his YouTube channel, and Himari scolds him, saying that if he continues acting so much like a boyfriend, he will never get a girlfriend. As they walk through the hallways, Himari asks about the lunch he brought. Sato lies, saying that they probably just bought the same frozen food, or perhaps Akane simply decided to copy him. Himari asks once again if they really are not dating in secret. Sato guarantees they are not, and Himari is satisfied to have cleared up the misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Akane observes everything from afar, thinking that that jerk is denying his own wife. That night, the two are sleeping when a noise wakes Akane up. She feels that there is something inside the room and believes she saw a ghost. She starts screaming in fear and wakes Sato up as well. She says that a spirit just came in. Sato looks around and finds absolutely nothing, so he decides to ignore it and goes back to sleep. But Akane insists that he not leave her alone. Sato responds that she will never be alone because her guardian angel will always be with her. Akane tells him to stop joking and says she will not be able to sleep. She also warns him that she will not let him sleep because she is afraid that some spirit will appear to steal their souls. Sato responds that if that were really going to happen, there is nothing they can do to prevent it. So Akane hugs him and begs him not to leave her alone. The following night, Akane continues following Sato all over the house, completely terrified by what happened. She swears she can hear footsteps in the hallway, so Sato suggests that she go investigate herself and try to record the ghost with her cell phone. Akane responds that she will not do that, because that is exactly how horror movies start. Sato asks what she is doing in his office, and Akane responds that she is protecting him from ghosts and does not intend to leave there no matter what. After that, Sato says he is going to the bathroom quickly, but Akane asks him to leave the door open for safety, and later it is Akane's turn to take a bath. Since she continues to be scared to death, she asks Sato to accompany her, and Sato does not miss that opportunity. Obviously, he accepts. While Akane takes a bath, she asks if Sato is by any chance still there. Sato tries not to look too much, and when he does not answer, Akane comes out to scold him for leaving her alone. The following day at school, Sato tells Shisai what is happening in his house. She listens to everything with a lot of willpower, and does so because she understands that everyone needs someone to vent to. He does this with her, and she does this with him. As this little team works, Shisai believes that the house might actually be haunted and volunteers to go check. In the classroom, she confesses to Akane that she knows all about her marriage to Sato. They worry that someone might overhear them and take Shisai to an empty room. Shisai congratulates them on the great teamwork in taking her far away, and Akane becomes terribly irritated with Sato for telling their secret. He explains that she figured it out on her own and asks Shisai to clarify that, but she is busy trying to remember a joke she heard the day before. Sato tells her to stop thinking about nonsense and support him. Shisai admits that she figured it out on her own, and Akane realizes that it is quite obvious her family might know, considering that Shisai is Sato's cousin and adoptive sister. Shisai says she is up to speed on the ghost situation. To Akane, she says she is sure the house is haunted and gets irritated because Sato does not believe her. Shisai says she also believes the house is, and warns that if they do not do something soon, they will also be cursed. As a consequence, this will cause their grades to drop by up to 5 points. Akane begs for help, and Shisai accepts. She asks them to show her the house, and upon leaving, the three go there together. At first sight, Shisai says it is already hopeless and the house cannot be fixed, but counts that she can find the source of evil and get rid of it. They enter the house and go to Sato's office. He says that office is a library, and Shisai asks if he sees indecent things in there. Sato says no, not yet, but Shisai is convinced that he does. Akane scolds him for reading indecent things in her house, and Sato says they are just normal books. Shisai insists that they must review the library of indecent books, and Akane is prepared to confiscate those things. Sato reminds them that they only went there to look for spirits. In the library, they find Sato's underwear. Shisai sniffs them without a shred of shame, and Sato has to snatch them away from her. After that, they go to Akane's office. She says there are no spirits there, but Shisai thinks she just does not want him to find out. Then they go to the master bedroom. Akane shares what she saw that night, and Shisai begins to consider all possible scenarios. After a few seconds, she says she already knows who it was. Akane and Sato do not understand anything she is talking about, but Shisai explains that based on how the ghost acts, where it appears, and the time it does so, she came to the conclusion that she is the ghost, especially because she has been coming to the house during the nights. They get very angry with her for entering the house during the night without warning. She shares that their grandfather gave her the key, and she entered without warning so as not to interrupt their intimate moments. Since everything was resolved, it ended well. Shisai wants to stay for dinner as payment for solving the mystery, as she really liked Akane's home-cooked food, which she considers the best in the world. Akane is very flattered by her compliments and agrees to cook whatever she wants. They sit down to eat dinner, and Akane notices that her husband is very close to his little cousin. After dinner, Shisai sits on Sato's lap while he plays a video game, as Akane suspects the relationship between those two. Sato notices that Akane is bothered, but she denies it and threatens him, saying she will rip his teeth out. He keeps asking if she is angry, so he decides that he is going to take a bath and Shisai is going to accompany him. That is already past the line. Akane wonders if they really intend to take a bath together. Shisai says there is nothing strange between them, since they have always done that. But ever since she moved away they can no longer do it, and she is very happy to have the opportunity to repeat it. Akane freaks out and demands that only one person take a bath at a time. At night, Akane goes to lay down in bed and asks Sato where Shisai is, and he responds that she is still playing video games, but that he has already prepared the guest room, and that she will go to sleep afterward. Akane wants to talk to him in private, as she has a long list of complaints that include Shisai and does not want her to listen. Sato closes the book and is willing to listen to her. Akane begins by saying that she would have liked him to tell her that the cat game he played with Shisai was one he bought to play with her. He explains that he was busy studying and did not want to bother her. She says it was no bother, and that at least she would have liked him to let her play first. The two begin to argue as Akane's jealousy starts to show. Akane tries to go hide, and Sato fails to understand them. After the argument, Akane feels better and feels that her day is not complete if they do not fight. Sato asks if she has anything else she wants to say. Akane has one more thing, and it is about Shisai. Sato apologizes for letting her stay without asking first, but that is not what bothers Akane. She tries to say that their relationship seems too close. Sato explains that he needs to take care of her, because if he does not, she would cause a disaster in the world. Akane tries to explain that this is not the problem, but does not know how to approach the subject without revealing her feelings. The discussion is interrupted when she feels a few spankings, accusing Sato of being a pervert. He tries to explain that it was not him. When she feels someone caressing her leg, they begin to argue over who is putting their hand on whom, until from under the cover, Shisai emerges between the two and asks for silence because they are not letting her sleep. They ask what she is doing there. Shisai says that before, she always used to sleep with Sato and wants to do it again. They have been together since Shisai was a baby, and she feels very comfortable beside him. Shisai, therefore, accuses Akane of being unfair for having him all to herself. Akane explains that she did not choose to marry him, but Shisai notices that she really wants to spend the night alone with him, so she decides to go sleep on the floor. Akane tries to explain that they do not need time alone and asks her to sleep with them that night. Later, while Sato is already asleep, Shisai asks Akane if she also feels jealous about having to share Sato with another person. Akane tries to deny it, but cannot fool Shisai, which makes her happy, as now Akane already knows that her cousin is in good hands, but she advises Akane to confess her feelings, because otherwise, he will not realize it. Having said that, she snuggles up with him and falls asleep, which leaves Akane extremely angry. Meanwhile, we see Akane returning home after elementary school, when Himari stops her to talk about a program that aired on television. Akane says she did not watch it because she has no interest, so Himari, being very kind, says that she recorded it so they could watch it together. Akane refuses because she wants to go home to study, but Himari insists quite a bit, all because she really wants to be her friend and manages to convince her to join her for strawberry ice cream. Now we see the friends having coffee, when Himari asks Akane if she likes Sato. Akane, as always, denies it, so Himari confesses that she likes Sato. Akane thinks they are playing a prank on her, but Himari says no, that she likes how intelligent and prepared he is. She remembers a day when a girl fainted because of a heat stroke. Everyone panicked except Sato, who stayed calm and told everyone how to act to help their classmate. Akane remembers how he took care of her when she was sick and realizes her friend is right. Himari adds that she admires him very much, and even if he seems distant, when she is feeling down he manages to notice. Akane asks why she is telling her all this, and Himari asks that since she gets along well with him, to give her a boost and speak well of her. Akane accepts and asks what she needs to do. Himari says that first she wants to know more about him, but Akane realizes she knows nothing about Sato. Sato is doing his things normally when he notices that his wife is following him while recording and noting down everything he does. Sato asks what she is planning, and she refuses to answer. She asks what type of girls he likes, but he responds that he does not have a specific type. Then she asks what his favorite food is, and he responds that he loves sushi. Akane continues asking questions, misinterpreting and exaggerating all of Sato's answers. At school, Akane tells Himari the results of her investigation. Basically, she says he is a caveman, and that he likes eating raw food, something that does not displease Himari, since now she hears it as a more wild man. Akane also says his hobbies are video games and reading, and that normally he reads a book before sleeping. Himari asks how she knows what he does before sleeping, and Akane lies saying she heard him talking to his cousin. Himari believes her and asks what type of games he likes. Akane responds that he likes horror games, which she finds very unpleasant, even when he plays using headphones. The more she speaks, the more she ends up giving herself away, and Akane fears Himari will find out. Fortunately, Himari does not suspect anything and leaves. Back home, Akane is about to prepare dinner and asks Sato to wash the bathtub while she cooks. He accepts and asks what they are having for dinner. Akane says it will be fish, which leaves Sato annoyed since he thought she would prepare a good steak because of all the questions she had asked. Akane gets very happy seeing how excited he gets to eat his favorite food, and agrees to cook what he wants. They go shopping, and upon returning, Akane shares that she likes that time of day, because it feels happy to return home, as it reminds her of when she was a child and went home to see her mother. Sato cannot understand that, and Akane asks why. Sato refuses to answer, but Akane really wants an answer, something Sato does not give her. Upon returning home, they sit down to eat the steak. Akane watches Sato try it, and he gets surprised to see how delicious it turned out. Akane cannot believe that he compliments it so much, and starts to suspect it might be a trap. Sato says he would like her to prepare that every day, and Akane feels that declaration as if it were a marriage proposal. He reminds her that they are already married, and Akane agrees to prepare delicious food for him every day. At school, Himari asks Sato what type of girl he likes, since she heard that he does not like anyone specific. Sato asks where she heard that, but Himari refuses to reveal her sources. Sato says it makes no sense to like a specific type of person, because that reduces people to a stereotype, and that he needs to know someone deeper to be able to fall in love. Himari likes the way he thinks, since the people who ask her out always do so because of her looks. Sato agrees with her and adds that pretty girls have a very difficult life, and Himari gets very excited. because he just admitted that he considers her a pretty girl. But Sato really gave no importance to his own comment and asks if she considers herself pretty. Himari gets very embarrassed, saying that if she answered yes it would seem narcissistic. But Sato says that he has no difficulty at all admitting that he is a genius. The conversation is coming to an end and Sato wants to leave, but Himari has one more question. She asks if after getting to know someone well enough, he could end up liking that person. Then Himari asks if he could fall in love with her. Sato cannot believe what he is hearing, but Himari gets very nervous, saying that it was a joke and leaves very quickly. Shisai comes out from between Sato's legs. He scolds her for hiding there. At home, Sato starts playing video games. Akane takes the opportunity to investigate his things. Thus, she discovers his secret diary and decides to take a peek, but Sato enters the room. Akane feels cornered and confesses her crime, but accuses him of setting a trap by leaving something so tempting within her reach. Sato explains that it makes no sense for another person to see that. Akane changes the subject and asks him to recommend a good book, then asks what his favorite book is. Sato recommends the history from the perspective of food and weapons, which he considers very funny. Akane discovers that it is practically an encyclopedia and cannot believe that anyone likes something like that. Sato says it is fun because it is filled with humanity's mistakes throughout history. Akane passes the information to Himari, who picks up the book at the library, but does not understand much of what happened. Akane understands her, since she also thought the book had very complicated parts without necessity. Himari notices that Akane also read the book. Akane tries to change the subject and apologizes for not asking about an easier book to read, but Himari says that does not matter, because now she can ask Sato directly about the parts she did not understand. Himari goes to talk to Sato, while Akane observes the two and starts to feel hurt. Sato explains to Himari what she needed to understand, and she thanks him, but Sato says he was in her debt, since she always intervenes when he fights with Akane, and if it were not for her, he would probably have already kicked the bucket. Himari guarantees that Akane is a good girl, so much so that she even told her what his favorite book was. Sato does not understand why she would do something like that. Himari, so as not to betray her friend, changes the subject, and she shares that Akane helped her when she suffered bullying in elementary school. Sato gets surprised when he hears this, and she explains that everything happened because when she was a child, she had difficulty talking to other people, and besides that, her blonde hair made her attract a lot of attention. Sato says that hair color does not look good on many people, but on her, it matches a lot. Himari laughs at the comment because it sounds a lot like the things Akane usually says, while Akane spies on the conversation between the two and is caught by Shisai, who asks why that is bothering her. Akane responds that it is not bothering her and says it is merely curiosity, as it is the first time she sees Himari acting like that. But Shisai says that is not true, that she has always looked at Sato that way. Akane thinks her friend deserves someone better, but Shisai notices that in reality, she simply does not want the two to be together. Upon leaving school, Himari thanks Akane for all the help and proposes eating strawberry pie at her house to celebrate. Akane accepts, but quickly realizes she made a mistake and says that no one can go to her house because she lives in a swamp and uses barrels as boats. Himari notices that she does not want anyone to go to her house, even though Shisai went recently. Akane does not know how to explain, but in the end, she cannot refuse. At home, she tells Sato that Himari is going to visit them and explains that she could not say no. He understands that she might have felt left out because of Shisai and says it is okay for her to come. Akane thinks about using perfume to hide the scent of the house and asks Sato to hide his things and stay locked in the office until Himari leaves. But at that moment, Himari rings the doorbell. Sato asks Akane to distract her while he hides his things, but Akane lets Himari in instantly, so Sato needs to hide in a hurry in the kitchen. While the two sit in the dining room, Shisai sends a message to Sato saying that a human being blinks 7 million times a year. Himari hears the ringtone, but Akane guarantees that the sound came from outside the house. Himari gives no importance to it and asks if Akane would mind if she went out on a date with Sato. Akane does not understand why she is asking that, and Himari says she noticed since the first year that she was interested in him, but Akane responds that that is not true. Himari wants to go out with Sato, but she does not know if that affects her friendship with Akane. She guarantees that she has no interest in that filthy, ugly, useless, good-for-nothing brat, and everything else. Sato listens to the conversation. That is the exact moment his heart breaks. The following day at school, Himari asks Sato out on a date, and he accepts. Outside the house, Shisai overhears everything. She gets involved and asks if Akane does not intend to stop them, but she feigns ignorance, saying she does not know what she is talking about. Shisai then prepares to explain to Akane what exactly she thinks and feels. At dinner time, Sato tells Akane about the date and asks if she minds the fact that he is going out with another person while being married to her. Akane reminds him that the two were forced to marry and that he can go out with whoever he wants. Sato understands, but realizes that Akane is quite irritated. The next day, Sato gets ready for the date. Akane asks if he is really going, and Sato responds that he will not go if she does not want him to. Akane gets annoyed and says he can do whatever he wants. Sato simply accepts it and leaves with the blonde girl, but as soon as he turns around, Akane stops him with tears in her eyes and admits that it hurts to imagine Sato with another girl, and that even if it is only on paper, he is her husband. Sato already knew that, and that was precisely why he had cancelled the date a long time ago. Akane gets irritated for having fallen into his trap, but Sato reassures her and invites her out. At school, Himari continues trying to win Sato over despite having already been rejected, but she is determined to make him fall in love with her. Shisai steps in and says that no one can get close to Sato without her blessing. Himari agrees to do her absolute best to win her approval so she can be with her dear Sato. Meanwhile, Akane observes everything, knowing she will not let her win. Himari arrives at school with a dish of raw meat with garlic for Sato, because Akane had said it was his favorite food. He refuses and says he already brought his lunchbox, but the rest of the class puts pressure on him to try what Himari prepared. Sato ends up accepting, so Himari places a small piece in his mouth. Sato discovers that it actually turned out very delicious and wants more, which bothers Akane, who says it is better for him to also eat her lunchbox, since she is the one who prepares it. Himari asks her friend if she is jealous. Akane tries to deny it, but Himari suspects she really is. She shows that she has no preference whatsoever and feeds a bite to Akane's little mouth too, leaving everyone in the room in disbelief. Then Himari asks Sato to help her study mathematics. Sato calmly accepts, because he is very intelligent and likes to help people. So Himari suggests that they go to her house and take advantage of the fact that her parents are not home, implying secondary intention. Sato reminds her that he already rejected her once, but Himari responds that that is irrelevant because the girls around here do not give up so easily. Akane realizes that someone is trying to steal her boyfriend, so she steps in and says that Himari cannot be left alone with Sato, because certain suspicious things might end up happening, and she does not want them to end up having a child. Himari responds that that is very ridiculous, and even if they had a child, they would take good care of it. Akane insists that no one expects it to happen until it happens, so Himari proposes that she accompany them as well. That way, she would have the two smartest students in class as tutors and would surely guarantee third place in class. Shisai appears to defend her position as the third smartest student in the room, and Himari decides to include her in the study group. But suddenly, she suggests that they study at Akane's house. Sato asks Himari which part of the subject she is having difficulty with, and she responds that it has been ever since the first year of elementary school. Akane, seeing that her friend is truly lost, comments that her grades started dropping since the first year of high school. With that in mind, Sato already knows where to start and proceeds to review some content. Himari starts to understand the subject and compliments Sato's knowledge. Akane acknowledges that he is intelligent, but says he is far from reaching her level. Even so, Himari thinks Sato is a true genius and takes the opportunity to rub it in her face. Akane gets very angry. Shisai appears and asks him to play with her, so they start playing a memory game. Akane and Shisai want to beat Sato, but they finish the game as losers. Sato is very good at this game. After playing a match, the girls want a rematch, but Sato says he is going out to buy something to eat. While walking down the street, Akane catches up to him to accompany him. She comments that she is surprised that he also has such a good memory. Sato responds that in reality, that is a bad thing, because it ends up making people uncomfortable. He explains that his family is smarter than average, and that he often scares others by remembering things that, to any normal person, would be completely insignificant. Akane understands what he means, because he remembered a comment she had made about his food many years ago. She then comments that she would like to have a memory as good as his. When they return and find Himari and Shisai blowing up zombies on Sato's video game, Himari comments to Akane that she did not know she had a game like that, and she lies, saying that the video game belongs to her father. After that, they go back to studying, but there is nothing of studying about it because they only keep talking. Himari thanks Sato once again for helping her with her studies and proposes that the next meeting be at her house, but Sato refuses immediately for obvious reason. Then Himari tries to win him over by intentionally spilling a little bit of tea over one of her breasts. Sato brings a towel for her to dry herself, and Himari asks how he knew where the towels were. He lies, saying it was merely intuition. Shisai takes Himari to the bathroom so she can clean herself up, while Akane blames Sato for hitting on the blonde girl. She also blames him for everything, since he agreed to help her study. Sato responds that he could not say no. Akane comments that he never helped her in that manner, but he reminds her that he tried once, and that she started screaming at him. And at that moment, the power goes out. Akane gets scared and hugs Sato. He asks why she is always such a scaredy cat, and she responds that she is not afraid despite having screamed and run straight into his arms. Sato says he is going to check the fuses, but Akane asks him not to leave her alone. Right after, she completely changes the subject and asks if boys like girls who are not so stubborn. He fails to understand the subject change so quickly, but since everything is dark, it is better to take advantage of the romantic mood. Sato responds that he thinks she is fantastic exactly the way she is. Akane says she was not talking about herself, so he joins the playful banter and comments that this girl, despite being quite stubborn and a bit stuck up, in general is a good person, and that he is understanding more and more who she really is. The power comes back on and ends up finding the two holding each other tightly. Akane denies, as always, that the two have any kind of intimacy. The following day, Sato asks Shisai if she was the one who caused the blackout at home, but she responds no, and Himari tells Sato that she did not understand that day's class and asks him to explain everything again. She also invites Akane to participate, but Akane responds that she would never learn anything from a filthy brat like him. But when everyone leaves, she secretly asks Sato to help her study. When they arrive home, Sato teaches the study method to Akane. She learns very quickly and realizes that the technique is quite useful. After a while, it is time to stop, but Akane wants to keep studying. Sato asks why she is so obsessed with studies. She responds that this happens because she wants to become a doctor. Sato asks the reason for that choice, but she says that is none of his business. Sato agrees, but admits that even so he would like to know because he wants to get to know her better. Akane reveals that she had a sister. Her sister was very sick, and her parents worked non-stop to be able to pay the medical expenses, so they were almost never home. Thus, Akane had to learn to cook and clean from a very young age. Her sister suffered quite a bit, and Akane could do absolutely nothing to help her. She still felt helpless for not having managed to save her sister's life, but decided that she will do everything she can to help other children going through the same situation. In the following days, Akane gets quite sad upon remembering her sister. She would have liked to have lived many sisterly experiences by her side. Sato asks Shisai for advice on how to cheer Akane up, and she says that she herself would really like to go shopping with him. So, the advice is for him to do the same, but not take her to the supermarket or the discount store, because Akane, even if she does not want to admit it, is a very feminine girl and wants to go to nice shops. Sato finds it difficult to believe that Akane is feminine, and Shisai advises him to practice with her, then suggests that he take her to a sweets festival. Upon returning home, Sato asks Akane if she wants to go out for a stroll. Akane gets on alert upon hearing the question and asks if he does not prefer to go with his cousin. Sato proposes that they go to the movies and then buy some sweets. Akane gets in shock when she hears this and starts burning the stew. She turns off the stove and says that it turned out good, but Sato knows it is burned. Akane explains that she was referring to a date when she accepted going out with him. Akane goes to visit her grandmother and tells her about the date with Sato. She gets happy to know that her granddaughter's relationship is progressing and takes her to a wardrobe to help her choose an outfit. The grandmother had been buying and storing clothes in her closet for when her granddaughter finally fell in love. The first piece of advice from her grandmother is to choose lingerie, but Akane says that this is not necessary. Her grandmother accepts the decision, but warns that going out without underwear on a first date is something way too bold. Akane clears up the misunderstanding, and the two of them finally continue picking out clothes. The day of the date arrives, and Akane appears wearing the pink dress that Sato likes very much. Sato says that she looks very beautiful, and Akane, a bit embarrassed, explains that her grandmother insisted that she wear that for the first date, but they are trying to convince themselves that this is not a date, and she tries to back down. Sato agrees, and the two decide that this is not a date. Sato suggests that they go to a cat cafe, but Akane says it is better to choose another place because she can no longer enter that establishment. This happened because whenever she sees many cute cats, she completely loses control. So Sato takes her to a karaoke parlor, and Akane asks if he intends to do indecent things there. He replies that if he wanted to take advantage of the place to do indecent things, he would do that at home. She asked this question because Himari told her that dates at karaoke always ended in kisses. Sato reminds her that this is not a date and that he is not a pervert. After singing a few songs, they go to have some milkshakes. Akane offers to let him try hers, and Sato realizes that that would be an indirect kiss. Because of that, she withdraws the invitation, but later ends up giving in and offers him a sip. However, Sato refuses, and she asks why he invited her out, since she knows he always has a hidden motive. Sato admits that he feels guilty for making her remember her sister. Akane becomes very happy to see that he tried to make her feel better, and as a thank you, she agrees to accompany him wherever he wants. This is his biggest opportunity so far, so instead of taking her somewhere more private, he takes her to a supplement store. There, a clerk offers them some samples, and Sato begins to choke on vitamin B. Afterward, he offers some calcium tablets, and Sato gets crazier and crazier. In the end, they come across a newer protein powder, and Sato simply downs it all at once without even drinking water. Akane, no matter how hard she tried, could not control him. Upon leaving, Akane sees a display window and a beautiful ring, but it is very expensive, and she cannot afford the luxury of buying it. They continue on their way, and Akane thanks him for inviting her out, acknowledging that she feels much better. She remembers when she was a child and asked her mother if her ring was uncomfortable. Her mother replied that it was not, because her father had custom made that ring as a demonstration of love, but that she would understand that someday in the future. The two are having breakfast in the morning, but Sato is more interested in the television than in the egg with ketchup that Akane prepared. She tries to make him pay more attention to her, but Sato no longer knows what to do. Akane becomes annoyed with his attitude and his lack of interest. Sato thinks that the gentle version of Akane who was affectionate toward him is gone, but he remembers that Akane really wanted a ring that she saw that day. At school, Sato asks Shisai to go to her house, and she calls her maid named Rui to pick them up in a limousine. Sato asks her to drive carefully, but Rui just accelerates as fast as she can. Once at the house, Shisai changes her clothes to get more comfortable. She does not seem to have a single drop of shame because she is doing this in front of her cousin. She asks what they want to do. Sato lets her choose the game, so she proposes playing corpses. He refuses, so she suggests playing vampires and begins to suck on his neck. However, her mother arrives asking what they are doing and why they did not invite her. The aunt asks if Sato is going to stay for dinner, but he replies no, because Akane must be waiting for him at home with the meal ready. And clearly, her mother is jealous of his new wife. Sato asks if she could get him a job. She does not understand why he does not simply ask his grandfather. But Sato explains that he wants to earn good money because he had started working to buy a gift. This hurts Shisai, as she realizes that he did not go to her house to play with her, but rather to buy a gift for another girl. The aunt does not like the path that Sato is following, because he is not even trying to maintain the marriage. Given that her plan was to keep everything within the family, and that he would marry her daughter, that is, Shisai, the lady agrees to give him a job at her company. He needs to translate a software program, but nobody is able to do it. She asks if he will be able to master it in just 3 days. He says that he is willing to do it in a single night. Once at home, he begins turning the pages of the books rapidly. Seeing him studying, Akane thinks that he is about to die from some strange disease. Sato explains that he is learning a new language, and that it is enough to do so, and then sleep so that his memory registers everything. Akane is surprised to hear this and says that she would like to have him inside her. Sato considers this for a second, but Akane gets annoyed and explains that she meant she would like to have his talent for studying. Akane asks which language he is studying, but Sato does not want her to find out and thus tries to downplay the matter. He goes to Shisai's house to practice his new language. The girl is quite clingy and decides to sit on top of him. Sato says that she is interfering with his work, and Shisai bites him and leaves a little annoyed. Sato asks if it is because he wants to buy a gift for Akane. Shisai replies no, because she understands that giving a gift will improve his situation. However, ever since he got married, he hardly has any time left for her, and because of that, she feels lonely. Sato agrees and apologizes to Shisai. She asks him to take her to bed, lie down beside her, and hold her close to make it up to her. She also asks him to sing a song so that she can fall asleep. At night, when he returns home, Akane asks why he is arriving so late. Sato avoids all the questions and says that he is very tired, so he will take a shower and then go to sleep. Akane notices that he smells of female perfume. Akane goes to her grandmother to ask for advice. The grandmother understands the situation, as she knows that the boy is handsome and must have many girls after him. Akane says she knows that a girl likes him, but that he would have told her if he were dating someone. Her grandmother is certain that Akane did not ask anything directly because, just like her, she also has great difficulty expressing her feeling. At school, Himari shares that Sato rejected her again, but when Shisai arrives, she notices that the girl is wearing the same perfume she smelled on her husband that other night. At night, Akane finds herself eating dinner alone again. She cannot stop thinking that Sato is cheating on her, so she decides to call him. However, she remembers that she does not have his number and needs to resort to the old methods of using the phone book. She calls Shisai's house, and Rui answers. Akane asks if Sato is there and requests that he be informed. Rui asks her to hold on the line for a minute and hands the phone to the aunt. She asks if she happens to be Sato's wife. Akane replies yes and asks to speak for a minute with her husband, but the aunt says that what he and her daughter are doing alone in the room is none of her business. Afterward, she mocks her, saying that Akane does not get along well with her own husband and asks her not to take that fake marriage so seriously, hanging up the phone at that exact moment. Some time later, Sato finishes his work. His aunt dismisses him and hands over the payment for having fulfilled his task. She asks if his wife knew that he was working there. He replies that he kept everything a secret, something that leaves the aunt quite interested. Upon leaving, Sato goes to buy the ring for Akane and then heads home, where he finds a completely furious Akane because he went to do things with Shisai and did not even answer the phone. He asks how she found out where he was, and she replies that she used her feminine intuition. Akane says that if he likes Shisai so much, then he should marry her. Sato tries to explain that everything was a misunderstanding, but Akane does not want to hear his explanation and tells him to go sleep with the dog. So Sato rushes to pull the ring from his pocket and explains that he worked hard for his aunt to be able to buy the piece of jewelry. He also apologizes for having arrived so late in recent days. Akane cannot handle that and runs to the bedroom. But before locking herself in, she thanks him for the present. The next morning, Sato wakes up and discovers that Akane is looking at her new ring. She is completely fascinated by it, so she asks Sato if he will also arrive late that day. He replies no, because he has already finished the work. Thus, Akane promises to prepare a delicious dinner. During the following days, Akane cannot stop looking at the ring and starts preparing a huge amount of food for Sato as a way of thanking him. Sato eats so much that he almost feels sick. On the way to school, Sato notices that Akane forgot to take off the ring, something that could generate many questions. He tries to warn her, but Himari appears, and to prevent her from seeing it, he holds Akane's hand. The girl asks him to let go, but Sato takes Akane to a more hidden place. Akane asks if he is going to pluck up the courage to disrespect her, but Sato merely warns her about the ring. Akane takes off the ring and tries to pretend that she did not like it, simply because she has difficulty admitting that she loves him. She puts the ring away in her small cat pouch. However, Shisai sees the ring and comments that it is a beautiful ring, then asks if it was Sato who gave it to Akane. Sato she replies no, because that is already her favorite ring. Shisai becomes convinced that it is because Sato was the one who gave her the gift, so Shisai proposes that she buy an identical one and swap them at the end of the day. Akane looks for her ring, but the ring is no longer there. She leaves the house discreetly to look for it. She retraces her steps to try to find it, but finds nothing other than pure bad luck. Now she will have to tell her boyfriend that she lost the ring. Akane thinks about what Shisai said about buying an identical one, and with that, an idea arises. She knows that another one would not be the same thing, because the previous one was a gift from Sato, a gift that expressed his feelings for her. Even so, she considers getting a job to buy another ring. She spends the rest of the day distant, thinking about what she should do. At the park, she meets Shisai, or rather, Shisai appears before her. That girl is everywhere. Shisai notices that something is wrong and asks if Akane lost the ring. Akane is surprised to realize that she also already knows everything. Shisai promises not to tell Sato anything, and says she will help her look for it, because she makes delicious food and is a good person. Furthermore, without that ring, the marriage would return to chaos, and Shisai wants the best for Sato. The two of them spend the entire afternoon looking for the ring, but find nothing. Akane asks Shisai to return home and says she will continue searching alone. Shisai suggests that she tell Sato everything, as she believes he would think of some way to find the ring, but Akane thinks that would only be her last resort. Sato waits for his girl for dinner, but she does not arrive. He hears the door open and goes to complain about her arriving so late, but realizes that it is Shisai. She says that Akane will still take a while to return. The girl went to the house because she followed the smell of Akane's food. Sato asks where she is, but Shisai refuses to tell him, though she advises that he go see how she is doing, because she knows Akane needs help and a little company. Sato begins to follow Akane and notices that she is looking for something. He also notes that she is no longer wearing the ring. After an entire day of searching, Akane admits aloud that she cannot find the ring. Sato listens and thanks her for having worked so hard to find it. He says that it is no problem and asks that they return home. Akane insists that she needs to find it, but Sato replies that he will buy another one later. Akane explains that that cannot be bought again, because that was a real ring. Sato does not understand what she is talking about, so Akane explains that the two were forced to get married, but that ring was a real gift. With true feelings, he worked hard to buy it and show that he wanted their marriage to work out. That is why she needs to recover it. Upon seeing how stubborn Akane is, Sato decides to help her. He asks where the last time she saw the ring was. Akane relates that it was when she took it to school and put the ring inside her small cat pouch. But upon arriving home, she did not find her small cat pouch. She searched everywhere, yet could not find it. Sato uses his super memory to remember what they did that day. He recalls that he opened the pouch 4 times when he went shopping, when he pulled out a handkerchief, when he wanted to take a picture of a kitten, and when he paid at a coffee shop. They go to the coffee shop, and Sato remembers that he opened the pouch over a manhole cover. He puts his hand in the dirty water and pulls out the cat pouch from there. Strangely, the pouch ended up in that manhole. Akane thanks him for finding it, and Sato places the ring on her finger. He asks her not to lose it again. On the way home, Akane explains that wearing the ring on the left ring finger signifies love and connection. She used to wear it on her right hand, but now he placed it on the left. Then she asks if he did that on purpose. Sato tries to switch the ring to the other hand, but Akane says she wants to keep it there. Sato is reading during the break when a pink-haired girl appears and greets him. He does not know her and gets confused, but she knows very well who he is. The girl says her name is Maho, but he insists that he does not know any Maho. The girl is surprised that he really knows nothing about her, but does not care and asks to be his girlfriend. Sato is left without a reaction because a stranger confessed to him. Maho insists that she knows him and says she knows that he rejected Himari and currently lives with Akane. Sato does not understand how that girl knows so many things about him, so he gets serious and asks how she knows all of that. She replies that she knows because she likes him. Sato begins to get tired of her games and asks her to answer his question. Maho asks again if he wants to go out with her and says that she knows all the dirty details that happen between him and Akane. If he does not agree to go out with her, Maho will tell everything to the whole school. Sato covers her mouth so she stops talking, but Maho understands that he is trying to kiss her and agrees. However, she cannot do anything, because Shisai appears out of nowhere and saves the situation with a massive flying kick. Shisai says that her mission is to protect Sato at all costs. Maho does not seem bothered by the hit, because she thinks Shisai is very pretty, so much so that she decides to stay with her and takes her to her house. Luckily, the bell rings, and Maho goes to her classroom. When classes end, Sato sees the limousine picking up Shisai and thinks that he will finally be able to enjoy a day just for himself. But Maho appears in the classroom and asks for him. All the classmates look at Sato with immense hatred because he is accumulating all the hotties in the school. Sato takes Maho to the hallway and asks why she thinks she likes him. She replies that it is just love at first sight. However, Sato thinks that he is not handsome enough for those things. She says that he is a hottie and slides down the handrail until she falls into his arms. Sato tells her to stop, because she could end up breaking her neck. Maho replies that life is too short to be so cautious, and that is why she confessed as soon as she realized she liked him. Sato says that he does not like anyone, and Maho asks if he does not like Akane either, even though he lives together with her. He replies that that is another story, and Maho interprets that as permission to keep hitting on him. Then she invites him to accompany her to a sweet shop. because all the girls in the school hate her, and she thinks that by bringing sweets to them, she might be forgiven. Sato ends up accepting. Maho takes him to a restaurant where she eats only a hamburger. Sato asks if they were not going to the sweet shop, and she replies that she prefers a good hamburger or instant ramen. However, her family does not let her eat those things because they say they are bad for her health. Sato says that the same thing happens to him, since Akane fights with him every time he wants to eat trash food. Maho understands that her older sister only wants what is best for her, but that does not change the fact that it is very annoying. Sato is not surprised that she is the younger sister, because she is very pushy and annoying, just like his sister. Maho notices that he has sauce on his finger and cleans it off for him while taking a few photos. Sato finds it odd and asks why she did that. She replies that it was to keep her lovely memories. Sato begins chasing her to erase the evidence and finds Maho hiding, trying to catch her breath. Maho says that he is a pervert for chasing her, but he replies that the only indecent person there is her, and then asks her to delete the photo. After that, Sato proposes that they continue the outing, something that surprises Maho because she thought he would be angry, but she did not think about that because she knows he and Akane fight a lot. Now she realizes that they are incompatible. Sato says that Akane is his archenemy and that she annoys him a lot. Maho asks why they do not simply separate, and Sato replies that that is not an option, and that it is complicated to explain. After a while, he says that it is already getting late, and that they should go home. Then he asks if she knows how to get back to her own house. Maho replies that it is not necessary because she will go to his house to say goodbye properly. Since Sato does not want that, Maho threatens to shout in front of everyone that he merely used her, and she will also tell the whole school what happens between him and Akane. Having no other choice, he takes her home. Akane receives them and is surprised to see her husband arriving with his arms around her younger sister. Maho hugs Akane and says that she missed her very much. Afterward, she squeezes Akane's breasts, but Akane pulls the girl off her immediately. Sato asks Akane if she had not said that her sister was dead. She replies no, that she merely said that she would never see her again because she was in a very distant place. Maho explains that she has been traveling the world since middle school. She asked her grandmother for loan money, and since they are very close, it was not difficult to get her to agree. Now, Maho decides to analyze her sister's marriage. Akane asks if their grandmother really sent her to do that, but the truth is that Maho just wants to satisfy her curiosity. She goes to the bedroom and notices that there is only one bed for the two of them. Then she asks if they have already done things together. Akane replies no, but Maho does not believe it and begins attacking Sato for disrespecting her sister. Akane stops her and insists that nothing happened, which leaves Maho very surprised. Then she asks if they have at least shared a kiss. Akane replies that that has not happened either, and that they have not even said good morning to each other. Maho asks if they have at least had some kind of fantasy or thought of something, but both immediately answer no. At that moment, Maho begins to believe that they are just as pure or boring, and decides to spend a night there to see how that marriage works. Sato says he feels threatened sleeping under the same roof as her, and Maho asks if he is afraid of feeling the urge to do with her what he does not do with her sister. Akane warns that if he tries anything like that, she will tear everything away from him. In the end, Akane allows her sister to stay as long as she wants. That same night, Akane decides to make porridge for dinner to celebrate her sister's return. The idea terrifies Maho because when she was little and got sick, they would give her porridge, and for that reason, she hates it. Akane opens the refrigerator and discovers that Shisai is frozen as if she were a block of ice. They pull her out of there and thaw her out, but to wake her up, Shisai asks them to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Maho offers herself, but Shisai refuses, saying that she is saving her first kiss for Sato. So Maho asks Sato to do it and promises that she will take very good care of her. But Sato knows that she would probably die in 2 days, so he decides not to do it. Shisai discovers that Maho is already calling Sato Big Brother, and does not intend to allow that. Because if anyone deserves to be his little sister, that person is her. So she challenges Maho to a duel to decide who the ultimate little sister is. Maho attacks first and begins rubbing herself against Sato, promising to make him feel very good if he lets her be his little sister. Akane asks her sister to get off her man, and Sato gives her a score of 0. It is Shisai's turn, and she falls in a cute way and asks Sato to carry her. He cannot resist, so he carries her and gives her a 10. Maho admits her defeat and knows that even she would have fallen for it. Akane consoles her and assures her that to her, Maho is the best little sister in the world. The sisters leave to talk in private, and Akane asks why she did not let her know she was coming. Maho says she wanted to surprise her, and it worked, because Akane did not expect to see her arrive with her arms around her husband. Then Maho makes a proposal to swap places so that she becomes Sato's wife, and she will have their grandmother pay for Akane's studies. Akane warns that she does not think she should do that, as she considers Sato a pervert. But Maho likes perverts. She also warns that he does not know how to cook a single egg and lives off instant ramen and Coca-Cola. However, Maho likes instant ramen and Coca-Cola, so there is no problem. Akane asks if she really does not prefer to look for someone else, but Maho says that Sato is a hottie and is exactly her type. She even shows the photo where he licks her finger to demonstrate that they understand each other very well. Akane is left speechless seeing that her sister is licking goodness knows what off her husband. But Maho says that the point is that they understand each other very well and could end up having a good marriage. Akane does not understand why she does not like the idea and supposes she must be getting sick. Sato is taking a shower when Maho enters to scrub his back. Sato says he has already done that part and asks her to leave. Maho offers to scrub something else and begins taking a shower together with him, warning that if he tries to leave, she will tell her sister that he tried to take advantage of her. Sato says that Akane will not believe that, but Maho asks if he thinks she will believe her archenemy more than her beloved little sister. They agree to keep that situation a secret, and she asks if he has ever taken a shower with any girl who was not a family member. He says no, and she confesses that it is also her first time doing something like that. Maho says that they should get married and shares her plan to replace Akane. She guarantees that she will be able to please him even more in every aspect. Sato tries to resist his indecent thoughts, but Maho keeps pressing, asking if Akane lets him take a shower with her or stroke her head in bed. She already knows the answer is no, but guarantees that she will let him pamper her at night. Sato gets ready to go to sleep, and Akane notices that something strange is happening with him and asks what is wrong with him. Sato merely says that he has already gotten tired of her sister because she is very annoying. This makes Akane happy, because when she was a child she was very sick, and now that she has so much energy to be a pain in the neck, it is a good sign. Sato lies down on the bed, and Akane asks if he wants to break up with her. Sato gets startled and asks what she would do if that were the case. Akane keeps thinking while Sato wonders which of the two he will stay with today. To welcome Maho, they decide to go to the amusement park. The girl sees this as a date, leaving Himari jealous. Shisai is ready to ride everything while eating a sandwich. First, they go on a pirate ship ride, then to the ice palace, where Shisai freezes her. On the roller coaster, Akane faints, and upon waking up she denies it. But it would be on the Ferris wheel that Akane would admit her fear and explain that she only went to accompany her sister, who loves those places because during her childhood she was very sick and lost the opportunity to go. Sato offers his hand to reassure her, but Akane thinks he wants to take advantage of her. In the haunted house, Akane cries while Sato and Maho have fun and even take photos with the zombies. Maho pretends to be feeling sick out of nowhere, and Sato carries her. She mocks his naivety, but he scolds her for playing around with something like that. To prove she is fine, Maho twirls around and promises not to repeat it. At night, Sato lies down after a long day, but to his surprise, his sister-in-law gets on top of him wearing lingerie. Feeling uncomfortable, he asks if she went to his middle school graduation. Sato relates that at his graduation he met a girl on the beach with whom he talked for hours, but he never learned her name. Maho admits that it was her and says that now she is not going to let him go away. They are going to get married, and now they can get along. Sato prefers to go slow and get to know each other better, but Maho wants to go straight to the point. Sato says he knows that she hates him. Maho tries to deny it, but he insists that her hatred is evident. She admits it, but even so, she wants something with him. She asks for a kiss, but Sato does not understand why he would kiss someone who hates him. Maho promises to explain after relieving herself, but Sato resists and concludes that she and Akane are crazy. Akane enters and sees her sister on top of Sato with her shirt unbuttoned. Maho confirms her suspicions, causing Akane to kick both of them out of her house. The boy accompanies Maho to her house. Sato does not know where to stay, and she offers her bed, but he refuses and prefers to go to a hotel. Maho follows with ulterior motives, but Sato gets ahead and closes the door. She threatens to accuse him of taking her without permission, so Sato yields and lets her in. The girl refuses to leave, so he restrains her and asks her to go. She cries, saying that Akane hates her, and fears that he also hates her. Sato hesitates, but realizes that she really got hurt. Maho, feeling guilty, remains in lingerie and offers to make it up to him. The good man rejects her and, to calm her down, allows her to sleep with him while stroking her head. The next morning, Sato notices that Maho is feeling unwell. She explains that she did not take her medicine after being kicked out, but assures that she only gets more tired. Sato fears that Maho might faint out of nowhere and wants to call an ambulance, but she refuses so as not to worry Akane. She assures him that she is fine, and even though Sato believes her, he still carries her out of the hotel. She notices that he has experience, and Sato relates that he once carried his sister that way. Maho asks if they really hate each other that much, but he hesitates to answer. In the end, Sato takes Maho to the hospital because she ended up fainting on the way. Maho asks him not to tell Akane, as she always took care of her, and she wants her to stop sacrificing herself for her sake. Sato understands and agrees. Afterward, he calls Shisai to ask her to stay with Maho. Shisai assumes that he is going to get a divorce and even offers to take him to court. At school, Akane notices that her sister did not go, and her parents say that she went on a trip, but she does not believe it. Sato insists that she will surely return, but Akane suspects that he is hiding something. He deflects the topic and leaves her talking to herself after classes. Sato visits Maho at the hospital and brings a good hamburger hidden away. He notices that she is very spoiled and asks if Akane was also treated that way. Maho says that Akane was never spoiled. Sato asks if it is safe for her to travel so much, but she wants to enjoy it before her illness prevents her. Furthermore, when she travels, Akane gets worried, and Maho feels that she has already worried her enough. Sato asks if that is why she wanted to seduce him before. He thought that she hated him for having stolen her sister, but now he understands that she only wanted her happiness. Maho admits that she thought Akane suffered from marrying a boy who bothered her at school and wanted to do something for her, but ended up ruining everything. Sato assures her that Akane does not hate her and asks her to recover so she can see her soon. Maho asks why he takes such good care of her, and he confesses that he just wants Akane to be happy. Upon leaving, he discovers that Akane heard everything, and she flees without knowing how to process that. A week later, Maho returns to school and apologizes to Akane for trying to steal her husband. She explains that she only wanted to prevent her unhappiness. Akane asks if that was why she found her with Sato in bed. Maho says that although she insisted, Sato did not fall for it, and even doubted her capabilities. Afterward, she jokes, saying that she really saw him in the bath, but Sato silences her. Maho admits that Sato was always faithful. Akane accepts and asks her to stop trying to take her place. The girl confesses that between one joke and another, she ended up falling in love and wants to stay with him. Akane becomes annoyed, believing that Sato seduced her sister, and looks for something to hit him with. Maho tells Sato that she found out who the girl from his graduation was, but she will only tell him if he gives her a kiss. Sato, already tired of her games, tells her to go to class. He apologizes to Akane for having seduced her sister and her best friend. Akane asks if what he said at the hospital was true. Sato replies yes, and Akane asks him to return home, pretending it is only so their grandparents do not get suspicious. But they forget they are in the classroom, and Himari overhears everything. Sato was alone in the courtyard when Himari arrived and asked why he was not inside the house. He replied that it was better not to return because his parents were there. Himari said she thought the same and offered company. Returning to the present, Himari screams that she caught the two of them living together. The whole class hears, but Akane denies it, calling him filthy. Sato replies that he would never fall in love with a toxic girl like her. Nobody believes them, so they run away to decide what to do. While they argue about whose fault it was, their classmates begin to follow Sato. Shisai offers her rug and her water bowl at her house, but Sato decides to return before his grandfather notices his absence, in order to throw off the others. Shisai suggests that he grab her and run. Sato does so, and they board the first bus that passes by. They get off at the last stop, but the next bus will only leave the following day, so they need to walk back. Shisai pretends that she did this so that he would carry her, but it is not necessary, as a limousine arrives to pick her up, leaving him alone. Upon returning, they realize that almost no rice is left, but they are afraid to go out and be discovered, so they agree to die of hunger with honor. Shisai finishes off the rice and suggests making sandwiches, but they reject her opinion for being the culprit. Suddenly, they hear noises upstairs. They go up and find someone hiding in their bed. Akane was ready to deal with the intruder, but she is stopped by Sato, who calms her down. However, she accuses him of putting his hands on her by force and falls onto the bed. At that moment, Maho arrives, sees them, and starts taking photos, believing that they were doing indecent things. Sato asks how she got in without ringing the doorbell. Maho replies that she does not need to, and that she brought Himari. Everyone sits down to talk. Himari apologizes for having discovered them, but Akane says it was her fault for not having told her earlier. Himari offers to help them, and Sato also apologizes for having lied to her. She says she already suspected it due to details like the food, the shampoo, and how well Sato knew the house. Himari thought it was a business arrangement, since her family owns a company. But Sato explains that they were forced to marry and are trapped in a forced marriage. Upon learning this, Himari sees an opportunity to win him over. They think about how to stop the rumors, even if they are true. Maho suggests capturing and torturing whoever speaks about the matter, something that pleases Akane, but Himari proposes something better and easier, simply contradicting the rumors that Sato and Akane live together. The next day, Sato arrives at school holding hands with Shisai to pretend that they are boyfriend and girlfriend, but nobody believes it because they act exactly as they always do. Shisai suggests something more daring and asks for a kiss, but Sato refuses. Since Shisai fails, Maho offers herself, but Sato rejects her because she truly takes advantage of situations. Now only Himari remains, who at first plays hard to get, but later admits that she loves the idea of being his girlfriend, even if it is fake. That same night, Akane warns that even if he pretends to be Himari's boyfriend, he must not cross the line, or he will have problems. Sato asks what the limits are and suggests various things, like hugging her until she says that it is enough. Akane replies that he can do all of that, but he will pay with his soul. The next day, Himari arrives excited and holds Sato's hand, making everyone suspicious. During lunch, Himari convinces Sato to eat together to maintain the lie. In the cafeteria, everyone notices that something is going on between them. Himari suggests going to an empty room to do couple things. Sato pretends not to understand, but Himari says that she always wanted to sit on his lap like Shisai does. She backs off for fear of crushing him, but Sato encourages her. Upon doing so, he hears giggles from outside, and Himari asks him to pamper her more to look convincing. The girls who were spying get excited and run off. Upon returning to the classroom, everyone surrounds Himari, asking what she has with Sato. Himari asks Sato if they can tell everyone that they are dating. He gives her permission to speak, so they say that they are together, surprising everyone. When they ask about Akane, Himari clarifies that the story of them living together was a joke, because she got jealous upon seeing how much time they spent together. Meanwhile, Akane becomes annoyed at being left aside. The girls apologize and applaud. Akane takes Himari to the rooftop and complains that she is crossing the line with good old Sato. Himari replies that this is necessary to put an end to the rumor. Himari goes out with Sato for their first date, walking through the mall. At the end of the day, Sato takes her home, but Himari stops him to invite him for tea. Sato decides to leave, but then turns back and asks if it is not too much of a bother. Himari invites him to her room, which is decorated with photos of him, and he is surprised. He asks about the photos, and she replies that she bought them from a photographer during a field trip. Apologizing for appearing strange, Sato is not bothered, and Himari interprets this as permission to fill her room with even more photos of him. While drinking tea, Himari shows him a WhatsApp group where everyone believes the lie about the two of them. Sato acknowledges that their plan worked very well. Although Himari says it was pure luck, he notices the psychology books on her bookshelf, and she explains that she studied how to win people's sympathy because she did not always want to depend on Akane, who saved her from bullying when they were children. Sato considers this admirable, although Himari sees it as something pathetic. The girl asks Sato if he feels anything for Akane, and he replies no. Then she asks for an opportunity and says she does not mind being second choice. Sato asks her to have more self-esteem, but she insists that as long as she can stay with him, she does not care about the role she plays. Himari takes the opportunity to say that she is home alone, and Sato shares that his parents never wanted him and never bought what he wanted when he was a child. Himari replies that she also went through the same situation. Sato tries to leave, but she holds him back and asks him to stay a little longer because she is feeling lonely. Hours later, Sato returns home and finds Akane very annoyed. He apologizes, explaining that they took advantage of the house being empty, which is why he arrived late. Then Himari calls Akane to say that Sato has already eaten dinner, has already taken a bath, and has already been trained. Akane tells Himari that they should put an end to the lie, but Himari insists on continuing with the plan. She says that maybe she will only stop if Akane becomes jealous. Akane replies that she does not feel jealous and that she does not like Sato, so Himari proposes that Akane be the wife at home and she be the official girlfriend. Akane accepts, even though she is suffering on the inside. Sato asks Akane to give him her contact information. Akane gets startled and asks if he is hitting on her. He replies no, but because of the situation, it might be better for them to do the shopping separately, and ideally they should have each other's numbers in case they need anything. Akane thinks that is a strange way to hit on someone, but gives him her contact information and asks why he did not ask sooner. He replies that he thought she would feel disgusted by him, and she replies that she feels a little disgusted by him. Akane does not want anyone to notice that she has his contact info, so she saves him simply as S. Sato says it would be better for her to save him as the ultimate alpha male, super intelligent and good in a fight, but immediately backs down out of embarrassment. Akane gets excited about having a boy in her contacts and cannot help sending text messages to talk to him, even while being in the same room. The silly girl even calls him on the phone. At school, Sato eats lunch with Shisai when Maho appears wanting to shower him with affection, but Sato has gotten very good at dodging. Maho insists that she only attacks him by surprise to boost her stats, so Sato says he wants to ask Maho something. The girl begins to imagine that he is going to ask whom she likes, and replies that obviously it is him. But what Sato really wants to know is who the mysterious girl from the party was whom he saw when he was a child. Maho says once more that she knows who it is, so Sato offers to do anything she wants in exchange for the answer. Maho contents herself with just a hug and even thinks that is already too much. Shisai asks Sato why he wants to know that, and he replies that it is nothing major, he just wants to find out. So she says that at their grandfather's party, grandmother Chiyo went and probably brought her granddaughter. However, the mysterious girl was beautiful and gentle, not like the old hag he has at home. Shisai interrupts the conversation and asks Maho to accompany her to talk in private. Sato merely observes, realizing that he was left without his answer. At that moment, Akane begins sending messages scolding him because of the mess he left at home. She asks why he left dirty dishes, why he did not put the TV remote control back in its place, why he left the mug all filthy, why there were completely stiffened socks with a strange smell in his room, and things like that. Ado apologizes and says he will clean everything up when he returns, confirming that she is the complete opposite of the gentle, unknown girl. Upon returning home, he receives a call from his grandfather, but decides not to answer. Then the television turns on by itself, and his grandfather scolds him for not answering the phone. Apparently, he is able to make video calls through the television. His grandfather says that his cousin is turning 70 years old and that the entire family will gather to celebrate, since this lady holds very significant weight in the family and the company. Sato needs to go to gain her favor and inherit his grandfather's position. Sato replies yes, that he will be there. The call ends, and Akane enters the room after hearing voices. She asks if he was talking to himself like an idiot with no friends. Sato replies that he was talking to his grandfather and that a big barbecue is going to happen, asking if she wants to go meet his family. Akane tells him to calm down a bit, because it is not as if they were actually married. Sato says that yes, they are married, and that the most appropriate thing would be for her to meet his family. He says it will be very nice, that the barbecue will be delicious, and that she will not be alone because Shisai is also going. Akane asks if Shisai's mother is also going. Sato replies yes. So Akane remembers the bitter way she was treated by that lady and says it is better to leave it for next time. Sato says he will probably spend the night there and asks if she will be okay alone, since she is very easily frightened. The girl replies that she will be much better without him, and if she sees a ghost, she will kick it out herself. Shisai picks him up in a limousine, and they head to the party. They arrive at a mansion full of servants, and his grandfather receives them, asking them to sit next to him, but Sato says he prefers to keep his distance from drunk old men. His grandfather replies that everyone there is drunk, so Sato ends up sitting with them because he has no other choice. Sato and Shisai congratulate his aunt and hand over their gifts. His grandfather asks the boy where he left his wife. The boy replies that she is very shy and did not want to meet his grandmother, and that was not why he came. His grandfather asks again when they are going to give him a great-grandchild, and Sato replies that that was not part of the deal. His grandfather says that is a waste. They are newlyweds, have a house all to themselves, and are not doing that every day. His cousin scolds his grandfather and asks him to stop bothering the boy with that topic. Sato realizes that she is the only person who holds even more authority than his grandfather and asks her to force him to stop marrying people by force. The lady replies that she supports their marriage and believes that uniting the two families can be beneficial for both, so they will remain married. Next, the lady goes into full honesty mode and says she always thought he would marry Shisai. Upon hearing this, Shisai cannot help blushing and becomes nervous. They sit down to eat, and Sato says that that was just a joke and asks her not to take it so seriously. So she punches him and then forces him to stroke her head. After all this, Akane waits at home for her friend to arrive so they can spend the afternoon together. When Himari arrives, she surprises her with a hug. She is happy to have been invited after everything that happened with Sato. Akane insists that Sato means nothing to her and that they will always be best friends. To spend the afternoon, they start making cupcakes and have a lot of fun. After finishing the cupcakes, Himari gets excited and sends a photo to Sato. Akane asks if they exchanged numbers. She replies that it has been a while, and it is evident that this affects Akane. Himari asks if she wants her to delete his number. Akane replies no and lies, saying that the only problem is that he bothers her by sending too many messages. Himari says that the one who actually has to endure her every night is him, and shows the photo she sent to Sato the previous day right after getting out of the shower. Akane asks if she is forcing Sato to receive that kind of photo, but Himari replies that she does it only to win him over, but it is not working because he does not even reply. Sato finally replies to the message about the cupcakes, saying that they look delicious. She replies that she will save one for him with lots of love. So he replies that he is allergic to that kind of thing, so one without love is already great. Akane sees the chemistry the two have when exchanging messages and wishes she could do the same, but thinks her messages are horrible. Himari notices that her friend is sad and knows it is because Sato did not send any message to her. She asks if Akane knows what the opposite of liking someone is. Akane replies that it is hatred, but Himari says no, the opposite is indifference. She explains that when you hate someone, it is because you still think about that person, which is why the worst feeling is indifference. After that, Himari says goodbye and leaves. Akane decides to take advantage of being alone to study and finally beat Sato on the exams. However, she looks at her phone and sees that she hasn't received any messages, unable to avoid feeling lonely. The barbecue at his grandfather's house soon turns into a lively party. Shisai ends up falling asleep, and Sato decides to carry her to her bed. The maid thanks him for carrying her and offers to let him spend the night there. Sato thanks her, but says that is the room where she will sleep. The maid replies that it is no problem, that where 2 fit, 3 fit, and even jokes that meat only falls on a vegan's plate. Sato, as a proper young man, refuses the offer and goes to his room. The maid says that is why he is still afraid of women. Sato, like any respectable man, goes to see what books are on the shelf when he receives a call from Akane. He answers and asks if something happened. Akane replies no, which makes Sato realize that she missed him. She says she only called because they hadn't argued yet that day, and since they have argued every day since they met, she didn't want to break tradition. Sato asks if that statement about her being better off without him was a lie. Akane replies no, but asks him to come back soon. At night, Akane has trouble sleeping because it has been a long time since she slept alone. She starts hearing noises around the house and gets frightened. The girl thinks it might be a ghost or a burglar, so she strangely grabs the frying pan that was right next to the bed and gets ready to swing. Someone tries to enter through the window. Akane goes to hit the intruder right on the head with the frying pan, but ends up discovering that it is Sato. Akane helps him get inside and asks why he entered like that. Sato explains that the front door was locked. Akane replies that he should have rung the doorbell. He says he rang it and even called her phone several times, so he thought she was sleeping. Akane didn't hear it because she tried to sleep wearing headphones. She asks why he didn't stay at his grandfather's house, and Sato confesses that he also felt strange for not having argued with her. So he found a bus that dropped him off closer to home and walked for 2 hours from there. Sato goes to take a shower because he is all dirty. Akane enters the bathroom, sees that his clothes are quite filthy, and wonders what he could have done to get like that. She hears that Sato is about to finish his shower and runs back to the bedroom. The young man notices that she is a bit flustered and asks if she entered the bathroom. Akane denies it and says she was dancing. Sato doesn't believe her and asks her to show him the dance. She replies no, that he will never see it in his entire life. Sato lies down exhausted, and Akane asks to talk a little more. She asks how the party was, but Sato doesn't answer. She imagines that he is tired, so she covers him up, wishes him good night, and lets him rest. Sato hears how happy she sounds and notices that she is being overly affectionate. This makes him recall the mysterious girl from the party. The next morning, Sato wakes up while Akane is staring at him sleep, all excited and eager, like a little bunny. Sato asks what she is doing, and she replies that she likes watching him sleep because he looks very cute. After breakfast, Akane asks if he has plans for that day. He replies that he intends to sit down and read a book he has been waiting to read for a long time. Akane says it's a good thing he has no plans, and proposes that they watch a movie, since neither of them can leave the house yet. She lets him choose the movie and even prepares some kitten-shaped cookies. Sato still doesn't understand why she woke up so excited, so he begins to suspect that she wants to poison him. At that moment, a message arrives from Himari asking if she can call him. Akane asks if he is hitting on Himari and says he has developed a habit of exchanging messages with that sly girl, and that they even send indecent photos to each other. Sato replies that he only receives the photos, but Akane says he made a point of keeping them to engage in dirty acts later. So Sato changes the subject and asks if they met in middle school. Akane replies yes, but Sato finds it strange, because the first thing she said to him when they met was, "It's been a long time." Akane replies that he is an idiot and that she never said that, but Sato recalls that he has a perfect memory. Akane gets annoyed, tells him to go jump in a lake, and leave. She cannot understand how he can remember that, yet fail to remember how they met many years ago. At his grandfather's party, Akane was still small. She grew bored and went out onto the balcony, where she found young Sato, who was also tired of the party. The two spent a long time talking until Akane had to leave. When she entered middle school, she reunited with Sato and greeted him. However, the memory-lacking fool did not even know who she was. She was overjoyed to see him again, but he no longer remembered her, which broke her little heart. Sato realizes that his wife is taking a long time and thinks he should try to cheer her up, of course. Only after finishing the cookies, Sato goes to check on her and apologizes for whatever he might have done wrong. She replies that everything is fine, but asks to be left alone for a moment, saying she will come downstairs later to prepare dinner. Sato replies that it is no problem and that he will make dinner himself, heading out to buy the missing ingredient. Meanwhile, Himari is sitting on a bench feeling quite sad when a group of delinquents approaches, trying to persuade her to go for a walk with them. She refuses, but they keep insisting, and one of them even grabs her arm to force her along. At that moment, Sato appears, declares that he is her boyfriend, and demands that the delinquent let her go, threatening to rip his fingers off and cook them for his wife's dinner. The delinquents panic and run away. Himari thanks him, though she thinks the threat was a bit over the top. He replies that it was nothing, and that he does this all the time. Then asks what she is doing out there all by herself. Himari explains that she cannot go home because her father's wife is there, and she dislikes sharing the same space with that woman. Usually, she works so she does not have to stay home with her. But since she was caught off guard, she had no choice but to head out to kill time elsewhere. She mentions that going to a cafe costs money, while sitting on a bench saves a good chunk of change. Sato understands, having gone through something similar, the difference being that he used to go to parks. Himari asks where he was going, and Sato replies that he is on his way to buy ingredients for dinner. She likes seeing that he also handles household chores and tells him that she is fine now, so he can return to his wife. Sato notices that Himari is feeling lonely and offers to stay with her a little longer. This touches her, and Himari claims the favor he still owed her for pretending to be her boyfriend by giving him a kiss. Afterward, he spends a lot of time reflecting on what happened. Later, noticing that Sato is acting somewhat distant, they ask him what happened. He lies, saying it was nothing. But Maho is far sharper and asks if he has been kissing her sister. Sato finds himself cornered and responds that it was not her, accidentally revealing that he has been kissing someone else. Maho presses him to tell the whole story, but Sato insists he has never kissed anyone in his entire life. Luckily, Himari arrives to see what is going on. Maho mentions that they are trying to force him to confess whom he has been kissing. Himari is surprised that they seemingly already know, but quickly realizes they have not figured out it was her. She then asks to speak with Sato in private, and the girls run off. Himari apologizes for what she did, but also asks if he would like to repeat it, which Sato refuses. When he arrives at the classroom, he sees his female classmates completely excited, staring at their phones. Akane joins the conversation and ends up seeing a photo of her husband kissing her best friend. She resorts to her good old method of running away. In the hallway, she runs into Himari, but finds herself unable to complain about anything. Himari realizes what is happening and tells her that if she keeps acting like this, she will truly lose her chance with the handsome guy. In a flashback, the two friends embrace and swear they will be friends forever, regardless of whether one of them ends up marrying the most handsome boy at school. Upon returning home, Sato notices that Akane is still deeply downcast, so he gives her a strawberry pastry as a gift. This causes Akane to burst into tears of happiness. Akane calls Himari and sets up a meeting at the park where they used to play as children. Himari arrives at the park overjoyed, recalling the antics they pulled together when they were just little girls. But Akane interrupts her before she can even finish speaking. Himari had already anticipated this. Akane asks Himari to end any involvement with Sato, but Himari replies that they are not even an actual couple. Akane counters by saying she acts like they are, since she hangs out with him after school, stays attached to his side, and is even kissing him. Himari admits to all of it, but asks what the problem is. Given that Akane and Sato are only married as a fake arrangement, she states that she will not stop unless Akane gives her a good reason, like claiming he is gay or something of the sort. Otherwise, kissing him will be the bare minimum she does. Akane builds up her courage and finally confesses that she likes Sato. Himari simply responds with a "that's nice," and then reminds her that Akane is always arguing with him and saying she hates him. Himari then states that, unlike her, she has truly liked him since their first year and has always been in love with him. Now that things are finally starting to work out, her best friend wants to throw away all the effort she made to win him over. But Kani fires back, saying that she is the one who's intruding. She says she has always liked Sato, and that, since she saw him first, she gets priority. She explains she has liked him since she was 12 years old, when she met him at a party at her grandfather's house. Ever since then, she always dreamed of studying alongside him. Himari is completely surprised, because Kani never told her about this. Kani explains that their grandparents were friends, and that one day they were invited to a party at their house. Was that how she met Sato? This leaves Himari completely outraged, because the situation really feels unfair. Thanks to Akane's grandmother, the two met and even ended up getting married. She says Kani is so antisocial that she can't even talk to anyone unless someone helps her out. Kani gets even more irritated and replies that Himari is just a failed attempt at being a perfect wife. Himari fires back, saying that at least she knows how to smile, unlike Kani, who spends the whole day looking like someone who ate something nasty. Kani responds that she is genuine and doesn't need to fake happiness like Himari does. She assures her that Sato can tell her smiles are fake and takes the chance to add that the other day she even had a bean stuck in her teeth. Himari gets more and more backed into a corner and calls Kani a bitch. Kani then goes for the final blow, calling Himari an opportunist for getting close to her husband using that whole "let's pretend we're dating" story as an excuse. But Himari replies that she would do it all over again. Kani was the foolish one for letting her best friend steal her husband. She asks why Himari had to fall for the only boy she ever liked when she could have had anyone else. Himari throws the question back at her, asking why Kani wants to take away the only boy she loves. Himari confesses that ever since their freshman year, she realized Kani liked Sato. She used to talk about him a lot and would get upset whenever he was absent. Kani can't believe she was so naive. She always thought Sato would end up falling in love with Himari, just like practically the whole class did. Even more so because she understood him so well. Even so, Himari never took advantage of the situation to tell Sato exactly what he wanted to hear, because that would be unfair to both him and Kani. She knew that if she stole the guy behind Kani's back, Kani would end up holding a grudge, and they would stop being friends, and she didn't want that to happen. Kani then asks if that whole story about pretending to be his girlfriend was just to make her realize Himari liked Sato too. But she denies it and says she did it to steal her boyfriend, and that she figured sooner or later Kani would realize it on her own. But when she saw the opportunity, she simply took it. Kani apologizes for making her wait so long just to be with the guy she likes. Neither of them is going to give up on Sato. Only fate itself will decide who he ends up with. In the end, everything stays pretty much the same as before, just with a lot less resentment between them. Upon returning home, Kani starts picking a fight with Sato, though it actually just seems like she's looking for any excuse to pick on him. At school, Sato tells the two pushy girls what happened and mentions that Kani is even more irritated than before. Majo says that's because of the kiss with Himari and also asks him to kiss her too. Shizai comments that, actually, the kiss with Himari wasn't Sato's first kiss. He's confused about what she's talking about and asks for an explanation. Himari joins the conversation to get all the gossip, and they both press Shizai to spill everything. However, since she wants to start the story from millions of years ago, everyone decides to save it for another time. Himari explains to Sato that Kani isn't really mad and tells him to stop overthinking it. She also invites him out after class to show him she knows how to do way more than just kiss. Kani interrupts immediately and asks her friend not to seduce her husband before noon. She agrees, saying she likes the idea of seducing him at night better anyway. Sato realizes that something happened between the two of them. They're no longer holding back and are being way more shameless. Sato asks if this happened because of something he did and asks Kani for an explanation. She replies that she won't tell him anything and that she hates him so much. That's how the anime ends, implying that the two friends end up sharing Sato depending on the time of day. One gets him in the morning and the other in the afternoon, or something like that. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and comment "girlfriends, kisses."